Welcome to CommercialDrones.fm, the podcast that explores the commercial drone industry, the people who power it, and the concepts that drive it. I'm your host, Ian Smith. There's a place in the world where you can get $1 million for your drone startup idea. And no, it's not in Silicon Valley. It's actually located in central New York, and it's called Genius New York, a startup accelerator for our autonomous future.
So Genius New York is the world's largest accelerator for unmanned systems. We're an accelerator competition. It's an in-residence accelerator at the Syracuse Tech Garden in central New York. What we're doing is we're looking for emerging technologies with a lot of growth potential in the unmanned systems market, specifically around UAS technologies. So really early stage companies that are looking for funding, looking to grow in the UAS industry, primarily commercial drone technologies, but we're also open to aerial, ground, and marine technologies as well.
That's
Jon Parry, Director of Genius New York.
Genius New York works closely with the state of New York, who not surprisingly want to attract highly innovative technology companies to their area, which will help stimulate their economy. And yeah, that's perfectly understandable, but let's first understand why Genius New York, the organization, is doing this and what it really entails.
The high level, the state is investing in, the commercial industrial side, so medium to large size companies. They're also investing in developing the regulatory framework. Where Genius comes in is we're supporting the entrepreneurship and innovation. So we're looking for early stage technologies focused in this area and helping them accelerate. Last year, we had 250 applications into the program. We expect more this year, but we down selected to 6 teams, 6 finalists that then competed for $3 million of investment. In March, we actually made those investments into the 6 companies, really exciting technologies with big growth potential that we're very excited, not just for the investment, but to come to central New York because of all the activity and the support that they can find in the region to help their businesses grow.
So I asked Jon about the kind of teams he gets. I mean, $1 million investment offer is pretty compelling. So what kind of companies are applying at your incubator?
We've got a good mix of teams in the program this year. We didn't focus on just one area, such as a hardware platform. We wanted a diverse mix of teams and technologies that could complement each other. So in the program right now, we have companies that are focused on the software engineering side to actually a hardware platform, even a company that does training. So all of these teams within the accelerator can actually work together and complement each other's technologies, utilize each other's technologies. We're here in San Francisco this weekend with 2 of the teams that actually want to work together, and they're figuring out a way to utilize one company's technology to advance the other team's solution. So there's a lot of working together and accelerating each other's businesses as well that goes on in the incubator.
Well, I had a banana from Trader Joe's. I'm not sure if it was organic or not, but it tasted just fine. My name is Jimmy Halliday. I'm Aviation Director for AutoModality.
Yeah, that's Jimmy Halliday from AutoModality, the drone startup which won the grand prize of $1 million of investment from Genius New York last year.
So AutoModality is a great story of why this accelerator works for all different types of companies. When we started this program, we really didn't expect a company from Northern California to come to central New York and be excited about building a business in Syracuse. But what we found, due to the nature of the investments, we got much more experienced teams than we were expecting. And AutoModality is a great example of experienced co-founders that have built and sold companies, that have been working in this industry for decades and have the ability to deploy and execute on a business plan.
Have you ever wanted to hold one of those big checks above your head? Like you see it in the movies. It is just as fun as you imagine. It started with the $100,000 check that I got to hold over my head at the SDK challenge. And then it ended up with the $1 million. I love adding zeros to checks. It's really fun.
As you might have noticed, Jimmy Halliday is a straight-up character, so I assumed there was perhaps an interesting story which went along with how AutoModality was created.
There's quite a story. There's quite a story to AutoModality. It's a fantastic and fun story. The co-founders, Ed Cook and Dan Henage, have worked together for upwards of 30 years almost on different businesses, some quite successful robotics businesses. I got brought on as a friend and co-owner of a business with Dan Henage. We own a skydiving business, and they were underground with the drone technology that they were developing for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, until last year we became aware of the SDK Developer Challenge that DJI put on at Griffith, New York last year. And we went out there and won that competition. And at the after party, we met representatives from the Genius New York program, and they were like, you guys really should apply to this thing. We applied to that. And then earlier this year, they gave us $1 million.
Why they came to Central New York, first we met them at the DJI developer competition that was held at that FAA test site in Rome. It was sponsored by Ford and the United Nations, and it was a search and rescue competition, completely autonomous. The drone had to fly off the back of a moving F-150, do the search and rescue task, and then land back on the moving F-150. AutoModality was the only team to accomplish that, and they won $100,000 winning that competition. And that's where I met the team. And really, at first, they were looking at the vineyard industry, doing inspections on vineyards. And to their surprise, Central New York and the Finger Lakes region is one of the largest, behind Napa Valley, we're the second or third largest winemaking region in the country. So that kind of sparked the conversation, the opportunity for growth and development. And then they started learning about some of the companies that are developing here, the serious commitment that New York State has made to this industry. And they actually enjoyed their time in Central New York. So from there, they applied and they got accepted as a finalist. And in March, they took our top prize of $1 million investment.
Let's be clear, AutoModality is no longer focusing their drone technology on vineyards. That was just merely a happy coincidence that at the time brought AutoModality and Genius New York together. Then this begs the question of what exactly is AutoModality doing with a fresh $1 million?
So what is AutoModality? Why do people keep handing us big checks? We are developing flight software programs that allow drones to fly autonomously really close to things. I mean, like a meter away, without using any sort of GPS or anything like that. So the real application for our technology is going to be infrastructure inspections underneath bridges, in tunnels, in culverts, inside of buildings, using what we're calling perceptive navigation. So we're not using any sort of GPS signals to navigate autonomously. We're using relative flight to the actual object-based navigation, perceptive navigation, getting rid of the need for GPS and still being able to fly autonomously super close to things.
Jimmy, please tell us, why do we need to get super close to things when we're inspecting them with drones? Why is that important whenever we're doing that?
Right. Well, we do this because typically if you're going to be inspecting something like a bridge or maybe a cell tower or power lines, you got to get the inspector's eyeballs 2 to 3 feet away. Like if you're going to go inspect a nut underneath a bridge that may or may not have backed off a couple threads, you can't look at it from 100 feet away with binoculars. You can't take a picture of it and then zoom that picture in. You got to get your eyeballs right up to it. And we're trying to more safely and more quickly put inspectors' eyeballs with the use of cameras as close to the object that they're inspecting as they would as if they were hanging from a rope below a bridge, trying to look at something.
And Jim, is AutoModality a hardware company?
We're not a hardware company. And if you ask Ed or Dan, the main guys in the business, if they want to build drones or if they want to build hardware, they will tell you emphatically no. Been there, done that. We don't want to build hardware. We want to buy off-the-shelf drones. We actually are a strategic partner with DJI now. We've built a great relationship with them since winning their SDK challenge. So we're buying commercial grade platforms, adding our flight stack software, adding some sensors, adding stuff to it, and then reselling that to the asset owner or the customer as a all-in-one inspection unit.
Hey, Jimmy, just a minute, y'all. I got another quick question for you. I want you to spell something for me. Can you spell for me New York, man?
A knife, a fork, a bottle, and a cork. That's the way we spell New York, Jim.
Quick shout out to Jimmy Halliday, shout out to Dillinger, and shout out to my late grandfather who taught me how to spell New York and that a chicken in a car and a car can't go is exactly how you spell Chicago. Oof. Let's get back to it. So there's another character in this story. He's the founder and CEO of another genius New York portfolio company called Akrobotix.
Hi, I'm Sasi Viswanathan. I'm the CEO, founder, and inventor at Akrobotix.
Let's just call him Sasi. And here's Jon again to explain to us in his words what he finds special about Akrobotix.
Their technology is very broad, and it's going to improve a lot of the flight controls, ground controls that are currently used in the industry, but much more advanced, much more efficient for how the drones would fly on a flight path, and much more reliable as well. So very skilled team, very good skill set. We're not going to be able to help them on their software engineering side, but we can definitely help them grow and accelerate their business.
Already this episode has been a blast to record with the fellas from Genius New York. Here's a quick word from our sponsors before we dive in deep about Akrobotix with Sasi. Commercial Drones FM is supported by Deveron UAS. Deveron UAS is building a standardized drone network for farmers all across North America, offering on-demand, near real-time field-level data when you want it. To learn more about how you can achieve scalable data collection in agriculture, visit deveronuas.com. That's deveronuas.com. Have you heard of Drone World Expo? Well, you should have. Drone World Expo bills itself as the defining event for the commercial applications of UAS technology. It's taking place in San Jose, California on October 3rd and 4th, and I've got a special coupon for Commercial Drones FM listeners. Use code DRONESFM, and if you're a drone end user, you'll get into the full conference free of charge. Other types of drone professionals will save 20% on the full conference or get a free expo pass. Go to droneworldexpo.com and use code DRONESFM. Okay, before we learn more about Akrobotix, the company, let's learn more about Sasi, the founder of Akrobotix.
So, myself, I'm a Ph.D. graduate in mechanical and aerospace engineering, and the co-founder of the company. He's Professor Amit Sanyal. He's also a Ph.D. and he's a controls professor, currently working in Syracuse University. He's an associate professor there. And I was his student. So myself and Professor Sanyal, we were doing research in unmanned system for more than 6-7 years. So my master's thesis, my PhD dissertation, my postdoc research is all related to unmanned systems. So we do the actual science.
Besides the actual science behind drones, Sasi realized that there was a big gap between the breakthroughs happening in the labs and research facilities throughout the world and the actual products that businesses can purchase for themselves.
We wanted to fill that gap. So what at Akrobotix we are doing is we are kind of making a technology so that the drones is no more like a fun toy. It's like an actual scientific tool. So we are putting all that science into that one. So if we do something, for example, if we do a trajectory generation problem, it's not just a straight line that the drone will follow that line. No, it's not like that. The trajectory will have the information about the drone, the dynamics of that one. It can address the nonlinear uncertainties around that environment, and it can know that the limits of a drone, how fast the drone can turn and how fast it should turn to make it more good and to minimize that consumption of the battery, and also to overall to improve the performance of the drones. So yeah, we used to put the nonlinear dynamics and controls knowledge into the drone technology, and we are developing all cool scientific stuff.
Throughout my time chatting with Sasi, I loved how he went from talking about cerebral academic concepts like nonlinear dynamic controls to immediately then just boiling it down for me into cool scientific stuff. This goes without saying, but Sasi is obviously on a whole nother level of intellect than I am. So I asked him to explain what nonlinear controls were so that I might understand how this relates to real-world commercial drone usage.
So like whatever we see around you, everything like it's not, our universe is non-linear in nature, but just for the understanding of humans, like they put a lot of assumptions and they like just linearize that one. So linearizing is like it'll be in a straight line. A straight line is a linear thing, but a curve is not a linear one, it's a non-linear. So, but for human understanding, we kind of put a lot of assumption and make it so simple. So the classic example is like, take a simple pendulum, will be too mathematical, but what we can do is like a car. So kind of you model the car and you drive that one, and we never thought about like what should be the aerodynamic drag and what is the friction between the tire and the road, what should be the optimal like pressure such that like the mileage is like efficient, and so how that wheel should be heated, and what should be driving posture.
This isn't the easiest concept to put into words, but props to Sasi for boiling it down pretty well to me into what their company's main focus is. Essentially, making beyond visual line of sight drone operations safe.
So that's what Akrobotix is doing. So we are developing a fully autonomous autopilot technology for drones exclusively for beyond visual line of sight operations.
Personally, I'm heavily invested in anticipation for our internet-connected drone future. And at this moment in the interview with Sasi, I was feeling extremely passionate about the magic of enabling nonlinear dynamic controls on drones. I wanted to know if Akrobotix technology is powered by the cloud, or if it actually consists of onboard hardware with data coming from sensors and calculations being crunched by local processors.
Yeah, it's totally onboard. So you just have a high-level control from a human. So just initiate the process, then everything is like onboard. So it's an onboard navigation system, onboard estimation system, and onboard control. So the system kind of will be totally aware of what's happening around the drone, and it can kind of propagate and it can predict the future instance. So like whether it to go this way, or if there is an obstacle, how to change the direction and to achieve the overall mission. So that kind of like intelligence the system like will be having, it's through that autopilot system that we are developing. So everything is on board. So we're going to have a sophisticated LiDAR system and few sensors. So on board, you will have some kind of vicinity about the environment, about the surroundings for like about 50 to 100 meters in range. So all the decisions are made on the flight. So the system can do all the planning by itself.
At this point in meeting Jon, Jimmy, and Sasi, I'm impressed. Genius New York has put together a varied portfolio of specialized drone companies who are working on solving the problems that our industry needs to crack in order to scale. I got to thinking then. We talked a good amount about the technology, but what about the actual state of New York itself? What else is New York doing to help these drone companies succeed? Jon let me in on it.
Yeah, New York has really accelerated their growth in this industry by help of the state. So Governor Cuomo has invested $500 million into our central New York region for economic development. We've committed half of that, $250 million, directly to the unmanned systems market. So we have existing companies that have worked on the military side that are now transitioning into commercial technologies with economic development help. But we also have a lot of other things going on in the region, such as in Rome, New York, we have one of the 7 FAA designated test sites. We are building facilities that are going to support, the growth and certification of drones flying, in regulated airspace. We just announced a 50-mile corridor that the governor is supporting for beyond visible line of sight, and all the other, money available for companies to grow and accelerate their business in central New York. So there's a lot of activity going on specifically in the unmanned systems market.
New York, as you just heard, is taking this seriously, with $250 million dedicated to unmanned systems work with a focus on the commercial sector. The state is also conducting regulatory research. AutoModality is using their drone technology for under-bridge inspections and even indoors, inside of warehouses, since it lets the drone operate safely without a GPS signal. They're not as concerned with pushing drone regulations just yet, as Jimmy tells us.
Right, technology and regulations, and never the twain shall meet. So we actually are in a really fortunate situation regulatory wise. We don't need yet to fly beyond visual line of sight. And a lot of the assets that we're inspecting are either indoors where there is no regulation in the airspace, inside your warehouse, or out in remote locations where we're talking about airspace that's largely uncontrolled. So our inspectors are using this tool within the Part 107 regulations. So we haven't really had to hit our head against the wall of any regulations yet. At some point, we are working on a Beyond Visual Line of Sight project. And that's just something that we're going to keep moving forward as we get further down the road and our technology does start to need beyond visual line of sight applications. But as of right now, I can live within the Part 107 regulations.
And looking ahead, Jon gave me his take on where he sees the drone industry headed in the next 5 years.
So 5 years out, it's difficult for anyone to predict with the rate that technology is advancing. I see the regulatory side catching up very quickly, and we saw that with the Part 107 license that were issued and the amount of people that actually got certified for the commercial side of this business. There's been so much investment and technology development on the military side that it's going to be an obvious transition into commercial applications. I think we haven't even scratched the surface of what drones are and will be capable of doing in 5 years, but some of the obvious industries of the inspection market, increasing efficiency, safety around everything from bridge inspection to construction site management. It's going to be a standard to use drones as a complementary technology and really looking them more as a tool. I think, actually the community, the public are looking at drones a little differently now. At first, I think there was a lot of hesitance of drones flying around, but now that people are seeing them in Apple stores and, in Best Buy, people are becoming much more familiar and comfortable with drone technologies.
I think Genius New York is a very interesting opportunity for those in the right position to apply and be one of the 6 hopeful winning companies that earn investments. I mean, just listen to this from Sasi as he told me how appreciative he is of the Genius New York program.
They are helping us in all possible ways. And for someone like me, just doing science all my life, and without having any background about what the industry is, what business is, what is marketing, what is business development. Oh yeah, this Genius program is the one that you have to go for. They're gonna set everything for you. But if you have a compromise, some kind of confidence in building what you want to build, yeah, this is the best place to go. And definitely you can become a successful businessman or entrepreneur end of the day.
That is a resounding endorsement. But what's the catch? How much equity is Genius New York going to take in my new drone company?
The program, we are going to invest $3 million again next year into these 6 teams. First place is $1 million, second place is $600,000, third place is $400,000, and then the other 3 get a $250,000 investment. On our side, we do take a 5% equity stake in the companies, so we have a vested interest in their growth and development. But we're really, we're a friendly investor to the point that all we want to do is see them grow and succeed and hopefully build their business in central New York. So New York State has just, doubled down on their investment on Genius. So Genius 2.0 is going to happen next year for our 2018 cohort. Anyone interested in applying or learning more can visit geniusny.com. My contact is on the website. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're really looking for great early stage technologies. And if you think you're a good fit, please apply.
Okay, well, if you're listening to this and apply, just feel free to email me my term sheet so I can take my modest 1% equity stake in your new drone venture. That's ian@commercialdrones.fm. But in all honesty, it would be amazing to see the next big drone company like an AutoModality or Akrobotix come out of the Genius New York program. So thanks for listening to Commercial Drones FM, and thank you to Jon, Jimmy, and Sasi for being our guests. Stay tuned for new episodes and go ahead and subscribe and review the podcast if you like what you heard. Check out AutoModality's perceptive navigation for drones at automodality.com. Check out Akrobotix and their work for enabling beyond visual line of sight operations at akrobotix.com. That's akrobotix.com. Make sure to apply for the Genius New York Incubator program designed specifically for companies in the unmanned systems industry at geniusny.com. And finally, you can support the podcast and get an invitation to the private Facebook group by visiting patreon.com/dronespodcast. That's patreon.com/dronespodcast. And donating just $1 per month to keep the podcast running gets you access to that group. I appreciate your time, fly safe, and thanks for listening. All right, let's cut off the mics.